First, let me thank everyone who's able to make it to the live webinar today. Just so you know, we'll be recording this session for anyone not able to make it at this time. Um, let's start with some introductions. My name's Finbarr O'Mahony. I'm the General Manager of MetricWorks here in EMEA. My background is predominantly in the digital marketing space, almost 20 years, starting in 2004 with Google, and most recently a 13-year stint with Meta. Over those last 2 years, one of the key areas that I was focusing on was how do we help our partners post iOS 14 with ATT drive efficient business and measure appropriately. So it was a great opportunity for me to be able to join MetricWorks and really carry on with this. I've also have my colleague here, Sanjay, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Finbarr. Hi, everyone. I'm Sanjay Raghu. I'm the VP of Marketing at MetricWorks. Been in the ad tech space for about 7-8 years and focused on UA optimization and performance. Thank you for joining us today.
Great. So a little bit about our company. In anticipation of iOS 14, MetricWorks built our solution, which was actually launched 1 month before iOS 14 came out. Since then, we've been working with a number of clients and partners, and we've been a Meta business partner for measurement for over 2 years. We're assuming by this stage that everybody has firsthand experiences with the challenges caused by moving from a world where every performance marketing dollar could be associated with a new customer to this new privacy-first world where this level of attribution is no longer possible. So let's look at what we're going to be covering today. The presentation today is going to be around 15 or 20 minutes long with some time for Q&A at the end. Today, we're going to touch briefly on the current marketing challenges, which we're all aware of, followed by a high-level overview of the various measurement options that are out there and the challenges associated with each of them. We're then going to look at the Polaris approach, what we offer, and how to get started if you're interested in finding out more. It's important to call out at this stage that while we will be providing an overview of our platform, we won't be getting too deep into the technical details of the webinar. Please reach out to us if you do want to discuss anything that we cover today in more detail. And lastly, if you have any questions, please share them via the chat functionality, and we'll try to address them at the end of the session. So, where are we today? As we all know, what worked 3 years ago doesn't work today. In the past, even with the challenges associated with last touch attribution, it was possible for digital marketers to account for every dollar spent. And as long as they were return on ad spend positive, people were generally happy to keep investing. After the introduction of ATT, and with Google's privacy sandbox on the horizon, it's no longer possible to accurately associate every new player or every new customer with a specific marketing channel. And as such, we can't be sure which channels are driving the most incremental return for a business. MMM and lift studies provide a privacy-safe solution, but in addition to the fact that they're hard to unify into a single trusted metric, they have their own challenges when they're used in isolation. So let's look at the measurement landscape today and some of those options. While some businesses continue to use fingerprinting, this option is neither policy compliant nor sustainable, so we won't be spending any time on this. With regards to last touch, it's never provided the full picture, but critically, up until recently, it worked. And while it may have undervalued some channels, most mobile businesses have been built around the signals that last touch attribution provided. Both traditional MMM and GeoLift are privacy safe and future-proof, but traditional MMM was generally slower and the output difficult to reconcile with last touch signals and to integrate with fast-moving performance advertisers. GeoLift continues to be a great tool, but it can be disruptive to the core business and only provides a snapshot at a time to work with. Here at MetricWorks, we thought, what if we can combine the strengths of last touch, MMM, and GeoLift? That would give us a privacy-safe and future-proof solution that could provide a single source of truth for your business. But how do we combine these? In the past, last touch attribution was sufficient, and it was seen as a single source of truth amongst a number of business functions. As we can see from this here, there wasn't a single team or a single function within the business that was solely using this data. It's across the board. It was the UA team, the BI and marketing team, the financial teams. All of these were using the signal. Both MMM and GeoLift studies are privacy safe and future proof, but it can be challenging to incorporate them into these existing business processes. So as mentioned, GeoLift only provides a point-in-time snapshot, and traditional MMM tends to be slower. It tends to measure uncohorted revenue, and the output isn't always something that marketing teams can action immediately. So until now, it's been hard to use these solutions together in a way that businesses can action. For example, what do we do when receiving conflicting signals from the different solutions that we're using? Despite these challenges, our clients have been able to use their system to improve their return on ad spend across all operating systems, Android and iOS. And as you can see, these are significant gains. So how have they done this? So we'd like to introduce you to Polaris. Like its namesake, Polaris the North Star, Polaris is intended to be a North Star to help you to navigate today's mobile marketing landscapes. What is it? Polaris is a unified measurement platform that combines 3 methods, MMM, GeoLift, and Last Touch, into one trusted signal that measures true performance. Polaris does not use any PII or individual data, instead combining daily marketing activity by channel with daily cohorted results from your app. Not only is it privacy safe and future-proof, but it's also easy to use. So how do we do this? Polaris provides unified metrics by training an MMM to evaluate incrementality, and then using your existing Last Touch data to model deeper levels of granularity as required. In addition, our system learns from every GeoLift test you run. So running ground truth experiments enhances the model on an ongoing basis. Because of this, GeoLift experiments are not just conducted as a series of one-off experiments. Our system allows you to see side-by-side comparisons of your current attribution with the true incremental value of the same metrics. These incremental metrics can be fed into your existing internal processes and used across your business. So if we have a look at the diagram here, what you can see is the core of our Polaris unified measurement platform, where MMM is used to calculate and to evaluate incrementality on a channel level for each country. We then also feed in your Last Touch data, your scan data into the system as well. And then every GeoLift test that's run also feeds into this. And from all this, we can then put out a unified metric, which is your single source of truth that can then be used across your business. And the beauty of this is that they're the same metrics that you used before, whereas incremental versions of those metrics that were built with the power of MMM and GeoLifting as well. So let's see what this actually looks like. Don't worry too much about the figures here. This is demo data, but we're going to talk you through some of the features and how to use this. So once you've provided your marketing and event data and the models in place, Polaris then lets you compare the data you're using today with incremental data for the same metrics, allowing you to make direct apples-to-apples comparison. Let's look at some of these features. So firstly, as mentioned, you can choose the KPIs and cohorts that you want to measure, whether you're looking for installs, day 3 revenue, day 7 ROAS, any metrics and cohorts that you're using today, you can see your current data compared side by side with the incremental version of that data. In addition, and this is a very critical point, both Polaris and your existing platforms will agree at a country level. And this makes sense. What you're spending on a country level is what you're spending, that's fixed. And what your business is recouping and the income that you're getting on a country level is also fixed. So our goal is that you'll be able to use the Polaris platform to make business decisions that will impact your return on investment at a country level. The first thing to look at and focus on is comparing true ROAS across channels. So within Polaris, you then get a breakdown of these channels, and you can see each channel that you're using and how the incremental metrics compare to the metrics that you're seeing today. For each metric, you can compare your current KPIs with the true incremental value. And as you can see, there can often be significant discrepancies between what your current measurements and attribution is telling you versus what we're seeing from an incremental point of view. And then once you've identified a channel that potentially isn't performing as well as you thought it might, or maybe that's overperforming, you have the opportunity to run experiments. And so if for example, in Polaris, you see that one channel is over, has a significantly lower ROAS than you thought it was, let's try turning that channel off in a market and see what happens. And the results from that experiment, that ground truth experiment, is incorporated into Polaris and improves the overall model. Lastly, once you've seen your data, and you can run these experiments on an ongoing basis. So lastly, this really gives you a picture. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that in addition to this dashboard, you can also use an API to get this data and ingest it into your internal systems as well. So this approach is easy to set up and provides accuracy and performance in a privacy safe and future-proof way. In addition, it provides you with a single source of truth, actionable data and insights, easy execution, granularity at the level that you need, and daily refreshes. One of the strengths of our solution, as mentioned, is the opportunity to use experiments to both validate and calibrate what you're seeing. And thought leaders in the measurement space agree that using experiments to calibrate and validate your MMM is a critical step. So, how easy is it to get started, and what do you need to provide? The first step is to provide historical data for ingestion on both the marketing side and the app event side. Ideally, about 12 months of historical data. Again, our system does not require user-level data. For marketing data, we take daily marketing data at the granularity you care about for each country, for app, and for app events, we take the aggregated daily metrics cohorted by the install date for each app, OS and country combination. This provides Polaris with the historic data it needs to build the initial model. Next, we set up the regular data update. Ideally, this is done by providing your API key for regular data ingestion, but can also be achieved by providing custom uploads. Lastly, once the data has been ingested, we review how your incremental data compares with your existing values. We then decide to see which channels and countries to test it with, using Polaris to determine which channels we should increase investment and which channels we should potentially decrease investment in. We can then do this we can run experiments and also ultimately see the impact on the top line from the country level. So the cost for Polaris is determined by the factors you see here and can be customized to your needs. The number of apps and platforms that you use is part of it, the number of KPIs that you need, the granularity required, the frequency, whether you need a daily update or every 7 days, and then lastly, the service level required. So if you would like to find out more about pricing and see what that could look like for your business, please reach out to me directly. So, as mentioned, you can get started for free. So let's look at what you get in the free tier and how this compares to our paid product. Our free tier allows you to get started quickly, accommodating a single app on one OS. So for example, one game on iOS or one game on Android. And the visibility into one metric that you can refresh on a weekly basis. This will allow you to see how your current attribution compares to the incremental value each channel is providing. Our free tier has no expiration date. So our recommendation is that you get started, take a look, and get in touch if you want to find out more. If you're not a developer yourself, but you work with clients that are interested in moving beyond attribution, we're happy to work with you or your clients directly to help them see the benefits of moving beyond last touch signals. So feel free to get in touch or ask your clients to get in touch directly. Thanks again for your time, and we're happy to take any questions now. While we're waiting for questions to come in, I think we have a few kind of common kind of FAQs or common questions that are probably worth going through. I think the first that I just want to cover is the importance of alignment across the business. So again, changing your measurement model isn't something that I think a single function within the business can do. It's something that needs to be aligned between your UA team, your data science or business intelligence team, and your business team. I think that's critical. So we need everybody aligned on this point. The results you get from any new measurement system are not necessarily going to align with what you used to use. Like they're fundamentally different systems. So again, this talks about the importance of the needs for those ground truth experiments, but also the need to adopt it and start using it. And we're confident that once you start using Polaris to make business decisions and start seeing the impact that has on your business on the country level, hopefully you can keep going at that point. Other than this, I don't know, Sanjay, any other questions coming in that we need to look at?
Yeah, I think there's a question about, hang on one second. There's a question about how Polaris compares to MMM.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so while Polaris incorporates MMM, it's a very different system. So what we're doing with Polaris is we're actually combining the strengths of 3 separate systems: MMM, Last Touch, and GeoLift studies, and taking the strengths of each of those. So traditional MMM, for example, you might have gotten a report once every 6 months, which obviously isn't fast enough for the digital performance industry. And also the results you got weren't giving you the metrics you're currently using. For example, ROAS, CPIs, so on and so forth. So while MetricWorks incorporates MMM in terms of what we're doing. They're very different systems, and it's very different to just MMM alone.
Thanks, Finbarr. I think the one of the questions that's cropped up is why can one not just use all three methods of measurement side by side?
Yeah, I think that's fair, and we probably touched on it, but could have spent longer on it. The challenge when you're using three methods simultaneously is, what do you do when the outputs of each of the three contradicts each other, when there's not alignment? So when you've got three different methods saying three different things, which do you listen to when there's a contradiction? And how do you actually look at them if they're not giving you an apples to apples comparison? So the beauty of MetricWorks is we take these three systems and actually output metrics that are identical to the metrics that you're using today. So you can see what your ROAS is per channel from an incremental point of view, which is incorporated your GeoLift and your MMM, plus any last touch information that we have to if we need to get kind of more granular down to a campaign level.
Great. We often get this question as well. Mm-hmm. I don't have MMM or data science skills. Will it take a long time to become productive on Polaris?
And no, well, I mean, the great news is Polaris is really easy to use. The most important thing is getting the information into the system in the first place. And then after that, the second most important thing is actually starting to use that information to run tests and to attribute. So we definitely think kind of data science is a critical piece of this, and it's important to understand what's happening, how the system works. But once you've uploaded your information, it's almost out of the box, right? We'll show you what our model sees compares to what you're seeing, and then that's where the ground truth experiments really come in. So if you see a channel that you're convinced is your best performing channel, and our system saying is actually one of your worst performing channels, that's a perfect candidate for an experiment, a ground truth experiment, where you can measure that yourself.
Great. Yeah, those are all the questions we had so far. Thank you for your questions. If you have any more, feel free to reach out to Finbarr at metric.works. Anything else you'd like to convey, Finbarr?
Yeah, no, again, thanks everyone for your time. As always, feel free to connect on LinkedIn or drop us an email with the details here. And actually, let me just go back very quickly in case anyone missed it, the QR code. If you aren't already working with us, feel free to test out the free tier. I think it's a great way of actually seeing the comparison to what you currently have. And then, I think experiments are critical. We'd love to talk to you. All right, well, thank you everyone for attending, and happy to give you some time back. So thank you very much. And we'll stop the recording and say goodbye. All the best.
Thank you.